You can't handle the truth. See, I think I have a message here. Let's listen to it.
Got questions for you, Tommy. In America, if someone says they're going to send the white coats for you, does that mean someone's sending the KKK after you? Because I had a spat with this Canadian lesbian girl the other day there. She's very ageist. And I said to her, in a very hurtful manner, because I was hurt, the men in the white coats are coming for you. She's then gone and reported me to her girlfriend, but the KKK are after them both. So if I said in a text, but the men in the white coats are referring to the people in the mental health department coming for her, not the KKK. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
I think I understand what you're trying to say. The men in the white coats are medical personnel. Probably more referred to as, if you make that like statement, you probably mean, asylum, right? Because that's where you lose your freedom and all that shit. The KKK are men in the white robes. They're not coats. They're robes. They wear robes, and then they wear potato sackcloths on their faces, so they can hide their identities when they maim, kill, and destroy the property of people that aren't white. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure that I'm not an expert on this, but I'm pretty sure that the white coats are medical personnel, which, that's probably an insult too. I'm not really sure. Did you say that, or did she say that? If she said that, then I would probably want to know what she meant. There could be another option, but I'm pretty sure it's medical personnel. Because, asylum, and what are those things that they put on you? So you can't, move around? Straight jackets. There you go. Straight jackets.
You've just clarified that for me. You've made me rest a little bit. The thing is the girl in question is Carson77, and the girl's girlfriend, I can't remember what she's called, but the thing is I've always said that people in the white coats are the mental people. The white robes are the KKK. But this Canadian girl thought, the men in the white coats are referred to as the KKK. Sheesh, lesbians.
So, as a gay man, I have to agree with you that lesbians are a bit dim. I'm just kidding. I'm joking. I'm not joking. But on the other hand, I will say that, what do you expect from them? And what was that insulting to you? Were you really worried about something a lesbian say? Lesbians are just, they try to be guys. And, guys, their id is talking shit. So that's what lesbians do. They think it's acting like guys. So that's what that is. And that's all there is. It's just talking shit. But straight jackets are something that I was trying to talk about here because we're in slavery. You're kind of changing my topic here with your conversation, but this is interesting, so I'm going to go with it. And I'll postpone my agenda here. Let's see. What do you got to say here? What'd I do?
Carson77, she is Canadian, Alaskan lesbian. Her girlfriend is called Chubby Mells. I don't know what nationality she is, but basically, I'm not going to block them because there's no point. If they'll block me or remove me, that's fine. I've got other social media platforms I can go to. But Tommy, you just really made my night in a good way. Cheers, mate. I can always count on you.
I'm glad you can count on me, bro. I'm trying to tell the truth. Sometimes I say things that are a bit, not popular. But I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to tell the truth. And a lesbian and Canadian, why would you even have a conversation with her? There's nothing appealing about any of that stuff. Nothing. But yeah, that was an interesting comment you made. But if I could get back to the manufacturing consent topic, if you want to join me, feel free to go ahead. But I'm trying to reach out to a lot of people, anybody who will listen, about the madness that is going on in our country.
So
I'm still swinging. Don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. You know what I mean?
and you swinging because you are running for president. So tell the people, why did you decide to go through that strenuous and stressful thing?
Well, you know, my brother, I've been running for truth and justice for all my life, though, man. So this is just another context, another moment that we got to be true to the best of all the love and care and integrity that been put inside of us, man. For me, that's Irene Clifton West. That's Mom and Dad. That's Shiloh Baptist Church on the chocolate side of Sacramento. That's the Black Panther Party. We set the highest standards of integrity, honesty, decency, but most importantly, courage. It's got to break the back of fear. We got too many folks running around scared and intimidated and kowtowing, you see. And that's what I've always tried to do. So running for president is just a particular moment in a larger calling of running for truth and justice. If we had some folk really talking about mass incarceration, really talking about decrepit schools, really talking about unemployment, underemployment, really talking about the ways in which black folk are still subjugated, then I wouldn't need to run. I could just kick it back, go back into the studio and make another record with Sly Stone. You know, we just dropped one on Friday with Destiny.
I see that the Democrats and a lot of progressives are saying they wish you wouldn't run, saying that your presidential bid could cripple President Biden's potential run. How does that feel to be that kind of threat, to be that kind of disruptor?
Well, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, though, man. That's what it means to be a servant of the people. You see that Harriet Tubman was a threat to the white supremacist order. Frederick Douglass was a threat. That's why he put a bounty on his head. Ida B. Wells was a threat against lynching and American terrorism, Jim and Jane Crow. That's why they put a bounty on his head. Martin King, Fannie Lou Hamer, they were threats. And what does it mean to be a threat? What it means to be a threat is you calling into question an order that's predicated on too much suffering of precious everyday people. Now, the funny thing for me is, you know, here it is. I haven't had one public event. I haven't had one fundraiser. And they say I'm a threat and a menace to the constitutional order. I say, yeah, that's what I need to be doing. That's precisely what I need to be doing, you see. Because the Constitution was pro-slavery in practice for 75 years. It's pro-Jim and Jane Crow in practice for 100 years. These days, the new Jim Crow. I always begin, as a Christian, I begin with the least of these.
I'm sure there's madness in your country, and you probably don't care about ours. Because, I mean, if you really think about it, why would anybody care about America? We go all around the world, and we, with our CIA, and then we upset governments, we overturn them, we arm rebels to kill their leaders, we fucking blow up their Nord Stream pipelines, their economic prosperities. We do proxy wars. We literally sabotage any country that might, you know, become number one because we're afraid not to be number one, which is why this whole BRICS thing is happening. You know, everybody figured out that, like, all we have to do, because oil is, like, you know, super expensive and it was being traded only in the petrodollar. So Saudi Arabia, Brazil, which we overturned their government. Saudi Arabia, we tried to overturn their government, but we couldn't. We overthrew Iran. So they're you know, they're hooking up with the Saudis. What else is in BRICS? India. They all got together and they realized, why are we trading oil in U.S. dollars when the United States has done nothing but sabotage our economies? Let's trade in our own currency. And so now our dollar is devaluing, and we're super, super, super freaking out about it. And we're probably going to do more nefarious shit because we can't help it. So that's us. And the fact is that while all this is going on, Fallen Angel, the logical thing to do would be to be like, okay, well, we're good people, right? We're good people. We have principles. We have values. Should we stop? Should we stop fucking around with other people's governments? That's not nice, right? Should we stop killing people in other countries and pretending there's weapons of mass destruction that weren't, killing hundreds of thousands of Iraqi children and women? Should we stop doing proxy wars in Ukraine and using them as literal cannon fodder as we try to, they're little sponges. They're soaking up every Russian bomb and weapon of war. We're literally trying to just cause a little pain to Russia's economy. And you know what's funny? It's backfiring on us. So the thing is, if we had principles and values and we were nice people, we are good people here, we would say enough is enough, right? But we're not. Because Trump. Because Biden. What if Trump? Oh dear. Here we are in a circular firing squad, distracted with two senile, racist patriarchs that literally don't give a shit about us. And they tell us that every day. They literally get on television and say, I don't give a fuck about you. I don't work for you, buddy. They call us fat. They tell us not to drink alcohol anymore. They just did that too. They told us to keep our fucking alcoholic beverages down to 2 per week. You fats. You're spending too much money on alcohol. We need tax money.
I'm waiting to come up, Tommy. I'm right next to you. All you have to do is just accept me. I'll come up. I've got a lot to tell you about this.
Okay.
What you're talking about, that is.
So I made it so that, how do I invite you? Let's see. What do I do? You're gonna have to help me, bro, because I'm kind of new at this stereo thing. And I made it so that nobody could come up because every time people come up, they change my subject. So let me see what I can do here. Okay. Here we go. Fallen angel. Hey, looks like I'm not computer. I'm not computer illiterate after all.
Right.
What's up?
Right. America has always been a warmonger nation. America thinks it's got a carte blanche. It's got carte blanche. It's got a blank checkbook. I'll give you an example. Just after when COVID came around in the UK, we had Boris Johnson become Prime Minister. He was in talks with your leader at the time, Donald Trump. Now, when Donald Trump came over to the UK before the lockdowns went into effect, he tried to buy the Scottish NHS, failed miserably. He then came down to South Wales, where I live, and closed the last 4 car plant in Europe and kept the money for himself. He then went over to England and whispered to Boris Johnson while having tea and scones with Lizzie, that's Elizabeth II, and Bojo, the prancing clown. And he whispered to Bojo and said, how much for your NHS? Because I know that you're looking to sell it. Boris Johnson thought about it for a minute or two, and then Lizzie turned round to him and said, Mr. Johnson, just remember, you took an oath to me, not to him. He's an American. You took an oath to me. I'm the one who has the final say, as you are Prime Minister. So be careful what the next syllable you say. So Boris turned round to Donald and said no deal. So Donald Trump only left with the money he made out closing the last 4 plant. Now, you're talking about America being a war nation. I agree with you. America is a war nation. It tried to put a stop to Cuba. And when the Mexicans stood up and said to Donald Trump, when are we getting our wall? What did Donald Trump say? Build it yourself. Build it yourself. You see, the thing is America is a war nation. It thinks it can go around, especially in Afghanistan. What was in Afghanistan for them? We'll never know. But the thing was when the Taliban came and attacked Afghanistan's allied forces, left, right, and centre, America retreated so quickly that they left X amount of millions of military equipment behind, and they came up with the excuse, oh, the Taliban don't know how to rearrange it. We've made sure that they won't be able to rearm this or rearm that or activate this or activate that. They're not stupid to know. They actually do know how to reactivate things. And Joe Biden says, "Oh, we don't fund terrorism," and they do. Look what's going on in Ukraine. That war's not been going on for 2 years. It's been going on for 15 plus years. What was America's last words to Britain when America was leaving Afghanistan? Enjoy your Vietnam. The thing
That's
is
true.
America, yeah, America.
But let me tell you, we were done with Afghanistan. The whole reason we went to Afghanistan in the first place was because the Soviets went into Afghanistan, and we armed the Mujahideen to take them out. We gave them
The
weapons,
thing, yeah,
and
the
then
thing is,
the Mujahideen turned into Al Qaeda, and Al Qaeda used our weapons to do 9/11. So now
the
then we got
thing,
stuck in there
yeah, and the
because
thing is,
we
the
kind of
only
did it to
reason why
ourselves.
the reason why America and Britain were there in the first place is because they were caught in bombing, making the Trans-Siberian pipeline from the Red Sea all the way up to Moscow. Because the thing is the land which we were bombing belonged to Al Qaeda. They were carpet bombing mountain ranges, which were sacred lands to the Afghans, because of the Russian Trans-Siberian pipeline from the Red Sea up to Moscow. And then when America left, the only ones who were left were the Brits. Now, if you go to Afghanistan now and you're British, you've got to be careful where you go, because people will watch you or spit in your face or spit at your feet, because the Afghans know that white people aren't to be trusted anymore. As for America, as I said, is a war nation. America is going around with a white jumpsuit thinking it can buy things or take things which isn't tied down. They did the same in Vietnam. What was that all about? It was all about the opium. It was all about the cocaine. It was all about the drugs. The CIA were using it. Here,
So I have a
America.
question. Because you just said white people can't be trusted anymore. And you're white, right? You are, right?
I'm a mixed blood. I'm a mixed blood. I'm
Okay.
Scottish Irish Romany. I'm Scottish Irish Romany.
I'm not trying to get you. I was just trying to. I'm trying to see your perspective on this, because I learned a long time ago that white people can't be trusted, and it's not because I'm racist. I really have given them like every single advantage. I've had this conversation with myself and like my family, because my sister just married a white guy, and I told her, if she ever gives you some kind of contract, just make sure that you read it all of it.
I want to meet your sister. I want to meet your sister and shake her by the hand.
I mean, I believe people are people. I believe people make their choices. It's not the race. But it's so hard not to. It's so, because like literally every single time you like trust these guys, they lie to you, and then they do the exact opposite thing. And I'm not saying black people don't do that, but like the history in our country, and then going, like you said, outside the country. I mean, the Native American treaties, right? Stealing their land and shit. Then they like went ahead and when they were trying to outlaw slavery, they went ahead and they post dated it for 50 years so they could get more slaves in for 50 more years. They do some fucking tricky shit. Do you think that's like white? Do you think that has to do with their ancestry, or like them being, I don't know, Nords? Because I know those guys were reavers, right? So that's that's their ancestry. What do you think? What's up with white people? What do you think is up with them? Just
Right.
wondering.
Me being of mixed blood, I'm not all Scottish, I'm not all Irish, so I'm not all white. I've got a bit of Romany as well, that's the gypsy side.
Well,
But the
good. So
thing
you can tell me a well-rounded
yeah,
perspective then. Go ahead.
I am, right. The thing about me is being a Caucasian, I've been accused of being narcissistic, toxic, loud, brash, racist, ageist, sexist, all sorts of anything people can label me. I just take it on the chin. I take it on the chin.
But
I'm not
like, who
standing
cares
up.
about what people are labeling you as? Let's just talk about the facts here. Like, what do you think? If you just laid out, like, I'll just lay out the facts: the Native American treaties, slavery, them lying about proxy wars, them wanting to do regime change wars. They seem to have a conquering conquest kind of personality to the fact where that's placed above other principles. Is that true? Do you believe that's true, or do you believe that that's not true? What do you think?
Half and half. It takes two to tango, Tommy. It takes two to tango.
Okay.
The thing is, am I against slavery? I don't think slavery should ever have happened in the first place, because too many innocent families were destroyed. The
Agree.
thing is, slavery still goes on in some parts of the world. Some parts of the world still do slavery, but they don't call it slavery. They call it something else. I can't remember what they call it. But the thing is, I think the reason why America is going around snapping up everyone left, right, and centre is because it wants to be public enemy number one. It wants to be the best of the best of the best of the best. It wants to be the best in science, the best in this, the best in that.
Do you think that has to do with white supremacy? That's my question. Do you think that attitude has to do with white supremacy?
Definitely.
I was expecting you to argue with me, because I really didn't want to go there.
No. I would never argue with you, darling. Come on.
You should. Because I don't know what to do with these white people, man. Swear to God. But that's a whole other story. I'm off on a tangent. But it's really been getting me, bro. Because literally, it's all about the competition that they want to do. It's not fair and fun competition. It's literally kill everyone, destroy everybody's economies, and then become the winner. And that's very, it made me think about, back what the Vikings were doing. They would go and rape and reave villages, and maybe that's why they're like this.
Do you know anything at all about Vikings at all, Tommy? Do you know anything at all about Vikings?
About banking?
Vikings.
Oh, Vikings, yeah. Well, I know some stories, from what I've read about, Eric the Red, and then Leif Erikson, who, went over to, was it Canada? He sailed over there. Did you hear about that? Eric the Red? Newfoundland, yeah. There you go. But not many stories. You have any insight on that?
Right. The Viking race by Gabriel St, I do declare. The Vikings were a very peaceful race living in Scandinavia until such and such AD. And then Christian missionaries from the UK came over and started forcing religion into their heads, down their throats, took their crops, all in the name of God, and left them with nothing. The reason why the Viking Crusades went on is because they were getting sick and tired of these Christians coming over, taking, and forcing religion into their heads. Now, the thing about Vikings is they were a very peaceful pagan race. They did their fishing, they grew their crops, they looked after their children, they did everything just as normal until the Christians came over, and that is where the white supremacy came.
So that doesn't line up with the whole... Did you ever see the History Channel of the Vikings? Every single episode, they're going to other villages and raping and reaving. And they didn't have any crops. They took other people's crops.
The only reason they did it is because the Christians did it when they came over to Scandinavia.
Interesting. I have a lot of blame for the Christians, but that's interesting. I'm going to have to read more about that.
The thing is also at the same time is when the Vikings came over, they were taking back what was rightfully theirs. Their gold, their crops, everything the Christian faith took off them. The thing is the Christians, it was tit for tat, tat for tit. It was like a tug of war. And then when Eric Redbeard came over to Newfoundland, he made friends with the natives. It took them a while to win their trust, but he did make friends with them. Because the things were is, the Vikings had their face painted, so did Native Americans. They liked fishing, so did the Native Americans. They liked hunting, so did the Native Americans. So in a way, the Native Americans became friends with the first people. This was way before Christopher Columbus came around.
Yeah.
And when Eric Redbeard finally said to the Native Americans, right, we've got to go home now because we're missing our families. But we'll be back. And when we be back, we'll carry on our friendship. And the Native Americans cried, and so did the Vikings, and they went their separate ways. Fast forward 700, maybe 800 years. Yeah, okay. 700-800 years later.
Neither of us were there to see them cry, so I don't know about that.
Yeah, this Spanish guy turned up saying, I now name this in the name of Queen Elizabeth of Spain. Bow down to me, for I'm your God. And it started all over again because Christopher Columbus, what was he? He was a Christian.
Interesting. Very interesting.
So basically, America is a white supremacist power. It's a white. Why do you think you've never had a president who's been female? Because it's a gentleman's club. Why do you think Joe Biden?
We almost had a president that was female. It's just that she was horrible. She was a horrible criminal.
Are we talking about Hillary?
She would have been president
Dorothy?
had it not been for her.
Dorothy
Yeah.
or Beverly? Which
She
one?
was-
Hillary, Beverly, or Dorothy?
Hillary. I was talking about Hillary. For
She
all
would
of
never
her
get in.
faults. For
She
all
would
of her
never get
faults.
in. She would
Bro.
never get in. She would
So-
never get in.
So I disagree with you on that. I think that we will someday soon elect, if our country doesn't fold into a dystopian future. It probably won't be just because of that and because of these two parties that are corrupt beyond all imagination. And so, like, they're going to destroy this country before we get a chance to. But we almost did. It was just the fact that she was horrible. But there's plenty of women that we would vote for. There's a woman in the Republican primary right now, Nikki Haley. Everybody loves her. She's a warmonger neocon. But I love Tulsi Gabbard. I'd vote for her. We would have an opportunity to do that.
The only reason Hillary Clinton never got in, well, the main reason she never got in is because she's related to Bill. And no one likes Bill. No one likes Bill.
No one likes
talks about
Bill.
anymore.
Everybody loves Bill. Everybody loves Bill, bro.
The Bill Congress,
to this
maybe,
day.
yeah, but not the
Still
Bill.
to this day, everybody loves Bill. Even though he was literally Reagan, part 2.
No. Reagan was on a different planet, Tommy. Come on, please.
So I will, if you want to have that conversation, then we can go ahead and outline the pros and cons of that, because they literally have the same policies. They have the same exact policies. So how is Bill Clinton different than Reagan? Reagan literally had a war on poverty,
Reagan was on a
right?
different planet. Reagan was on
He
a
had a
different
war
planet.
on drugs. He had a war on drugs. He wrote a crime bill. Then Bill Clinton wrote the crime bill, right? So they both literally incarcerated all of the poor people and all of the mentally unhealthy people instead of funding hospitals. They both cut Social Security. They both literally tried to do nefarious shit with the Middle East. They both literally tried to overthrow Middle Eastern countries and shit like that. Iran, Mossadegh, all of that stuff. What are the different policies? If you could tell me, give me some specific details on how they are different. Go ahead.
You certainly know how to tick my boxes, Tommy. The
What?
thing is, Bill Clinton and Ronald Reagan are two different presidents. They did believe in the same policies, which is true, yes. Yes, they did try and do the great divide of making sure that ill people were in one camp and the wealthy were in another. Fair enough. But the thing was, is you've got to remember, Ronald Reagan was an actor. He was on a different planet. Bill Clinton was just a womanizer who got his cock.
That was the difference. That was the difference.
Yeah. He got his cock somewhere else. And the thing was, is Hillary Clinton stood by him, said he's innocent, he's being set up, and then it finally came out. And I'm not on about the white stuff. I'm on about the other stuff. It finally came out that
What finally came out? What finally came out? So you don't think she knew that, bro? Are you serious?
Well, I think she did know it because she wasn't providing to Bill, so Bill went elsewhere.
So all of that is stuff that the media said. And the truth is that she stayed with Bill because she wanted to become president of the United States. She had her own political agenda. And if she divorced the president of the United States, it would be even harder for her in the Democratic Party to become the nominee. You realize that? That in our country, the president is the leader of the political party. So Bill Clinton was the leader of the Democratic Party. So do you think that if she divorced Bill Clinton, that she would be welcome in the Democratic Party?
Hell no.
So that's why she stayed with Bill, bro. It's not because she found out all of a sudden he was a womanizer, but she could. Yeah, it's a calculated, bro.
Right. Let me stir some pot up. Let me stir some soup up. Hillary Clinton is closet bi, right?
Is what?
She's closet bi.
I don't know about that.
No, she's
Why?
closet
Why was
bi
he?
because when Bill Clinton went to
Okay.
Jeffrey Epstein's island of lust, she was right by his side. She was right by his side. Secondly,
So what does that have to do with anything? Why'd you bring that up?
Let me finish. Let me finish.
Okay, go ahead. All right.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Secondly, did you know that Hillary Clinton is a distant relation of the Kennedys? Did you know that?
I'm gonna have to fact check that.
Yep.
I didn't know
I'll let
that.
you back that and you can come back to me on that. Thirdly, she only stood by Bill because, as you said, if she was divorced Bill on the grounds of womanizing and adultery, she would be kicked out of the Democratic Club and she wouldn't be given the key to the bathroom anymore. The thing is, she stood by Bill because he was going places. He was an upcoming senator. He promised this, he promised that. He was going to do this, he was going to do that. But the thing was, his PP got caught elsewhere. So basically, he had to step down. He had to lose face and grace. He had to pull out of the political game, as we would say. The thing is Chelsea Clinton, on the other hand, she's like a mum. She's an upcoming senator. She's going places. Chelsea Clinton, she's in her 40s now. She's got 3 kids. She still goes to her mum and her dad's for breakfast every Sunday morning with her husband and her kids. But she wants to basically be like her mum, which is a senator. But the thing is Bill Clinton and Ronald Reagan, they're on 2 different planets. But they did believe in the same policies. I'll give you that, Tommy. I'll give you that.
So I'm looking on Google for this, and I don't see any results for Hillary Clinton being relative to the Kennedys. But if you could give me that evidence, that'd be cool. And
I can see Clinton Gate reopening on stereo coming soon.
So all of that's very interesting, Fallen Angel. But the point is that these 2 parties have usurped the reins of government and carved for themselves from the very engines that brought them to unjust dominion a tyranny of their own. And they're tyrants, just like the one we rebelled against, King George III. So we're in a matrix right now, and we're slaves to it. And the fact is that there's people inside the matrix, businessmen, teachers, lawyers, carpenters, neighbors, the very minds of the people we're trying to save. They're all slaves. And until we save them, until we tell them about the truth, which is these 2 parties are tyrants, they're literally agents of the system, bro. They're literal, pawns, voting for Democrats and Republicans, letting the wheel crush us all. And that's probably more of a problem than Hillary being bisexual. Even more of a problem than Bill Clinton going to the Epstein Island. I mean, that was a horrible thing. But at the same time, the fact that we, the good people of this country, keep allowing tyrants to, in our name, do atrocities all over the world and be a war nation, like you said. That's something that we need to blame ourselves about. And that's why I'm trying to address as many Americans as possible about that. Well, what do you think? How do you think that I could probably reach people or persuade people to stop being agents of the system and to start becoming the rebels that we were in 1776? Because we weren't always a war country, Fallen Angel. We were always establishment, neoliberal New World Order. We were once rebels, colonists, and we united under one flag, under God, indivisible, bro. E pluribus unum, out of many one. So how come we've fallen so far from that into a war country? That our reputation is so violent and so destructive and so nefarious now. Do you see our problem, our big problem? Do you know what I'm talking about?
It's,
You know what I'm saying?
it, it's basically the reason why America's now became a war nation is because you all, not all of you, but a large majority of your government is paranoid. You watch the
Is
world
what?
from envious. You're paranoid. You watch the world with envious eyes. It's
Right.
like it's like in World War II. America, it took all the scientists from the Nazis and made NASA. It took all the spoils of war and hid them away and kept it for a rainy day and then pawned it when the time came. America has always wanted to be public enemy number one. That's why it starts with wars with Cuba or Afghanistan or Vietnam or Cambodia or Indonesia. We'll be fighting over grains of sand next, Tommy. That's what's going to go on. The thing is, America watches the world with envious eyes. If nothing is
Right.
tied down
Because we're
to
an
the truth,
empire. Because we're an
yeah,
empire. And that's what empires do, fallen angel. That's what King George III did when the British Empire invaded India and African countries. They watched the world with envious eyes. And we have become an empire, and we're all slaves of it. And that's the big problem, isn't it? And like
we
Washington said, he said it in his farewell address. He gave a warning to us about the negative impact of these political parties. During his
why do you
presidency,
think?
he literally witnessed the rise of these Democrats and Republicans, and he said, "quote They'll usurp the reins of government and carve for themselves from the very engines that which brought them to unjust dominion a tyranny of their own. They will be unprincipled men, and they will be enabled to subvert the power of the people and destroy afterwards their
Why
liberties."
do
That's
why do
what
you think I
Washington
call
said.
why do you think I call America the land of the slave? It's not the land of the brave, the land of the slave. You
That's true, bro.
you work for you work for what was the Roman Senate, which is now based in Washington, which is built on lies, deceit, and conning each other. You Americans will be fighting over grains of sand next. I can see it happening in the future. I'm 53, going on 54 this year, Tommy. I'm not getting any younger. But the thing is I've always
Oh,
said to
yes,
my
you
friends,
are. Don't say that.
sorry?
You're getting younger, bro. You can get younger.
As I always say, when I get old, I get young, and when I get young, I get old because I'm suffering from the Merlin complex. There you go. But the thing is, America is basically a war nation, but has brought itself to its knees several times, but it always manages to bail itself out. I don't know how you do it, but I've got a rough idea how you do it, if it makes sense. And
Go
the
ahead and
thing
tell me.
oh, I'll tell you another time because it's 11 o'clock over here in the UK, Tommy. So it's almost my bedtime. But the thing is America is always looking for ways of obtaining. They did this to try to do it in Cuba, failed. They tried to get rid of Paddy Castell, failed. They tried to assassinate him, failed. They tried to pose various factions against each other. Some of them worked, some of them failed. The thing is America is always looking for take, take, take. It never borrows. It never buys. It never barters. It just takes. And the thing is America is going to face another recession in the next 25, maybe 30 years. Did you know that all the gold reserve in Fort Knox is no longer there? Did you know that America at this moment in time is depending on handouts? But the thing is Joe Biden says, "Oh, we'll give X amount of billion to the Ukrainians to help them against the angry bear from the north." It's not working. And the thing is America
Everything
is
Joe
always
Biden says is a lie. So even to quote him is a waste of time. But yeah, what you're saying
but
so far is I
but
agree with.
yeah,
Just let's not quote these liars, bro, because everything they say is a waste of time. But anyway, you're right about that. And my goal is to change the tides on that, because these people, they're not America. I just want you to know that they're tyrants. They've usurped the reins of government, like Washington said. They've subverted the power of the people, and in our name, they're committing crimes and atrocities across the world. So we actually have the power, and we actually are able, by our Constitution, to subvert it back to us. All we have to do is we have to stop voting for Democrats and Republicans. We have to stop enabling their fucking murderous, lying, thieving behavior. And we have to unite, again, as we were meant to, e pluribus unum. The hard
But
part
Joe
is,
Biden,
these fucking
wait,
dunderheads
Tommy,
literally think that Trump is the threat to democracy, when our
right,
democracy was
Tommy,
literally taken so many years ago. But go ahead.
right. I've
It's
got
funny.
questions for you.
It's funny.
I know
Go
it's
ahead.
funny. Right, here's a question for you, Tommy. Did Joe Biden one time say that he wouldn't fund terrorism?
Did Joe Biden say what?
He wouldn't fund terrorism.
He what on terrorism? I can't get the
He
what.
wouldn't fund. He wouldn't fund. He wouldn't sponsor terrorism.
He funds the CIA, so he
Oh
is funding
yeah,
terrorism.
I
So,
know he's
like
funding
I said,
terrorism.
everything he's saying is a lie. You know what's funny is they called me to do a poll, because they're doing polls because of the election, and I could tell that these weren't like polls that were like scientific or anything like that, because the questions of the poll, she's like, "This is a national poll. I want to get your responses. Are you going to vote Republican or Democrat?" I'm voting not for them. Well, that's not an answer. You have to say Republican or Democrat. The next question was, which one is more concerning to you? White supremacy, kids in cages, or what was the last one? Oh, the Republicans cutting social safety nets. Right then I knew who the fuck was conducting this poll. It wasn't some unbiased scientific person that was trying to get information. It was the Democrats trying to figure out if black people were still going to vote for this racist. And I hung up on the phone. I hung up the phone. These guys are just so hilarious, bro. They're just literally, they won't raise the minimum wage. They won't legalize marijuana. They literally let Roe v. Wade evaporate. They won't even protect the people in Hawaii. They're going to shell out $700 one-time payments while they give billions to Ukraine. It's embarrassing. So these guys are literally smacking us in the face. And then they call us on the phone and they talk to us about the Republicans cutting social safety nets, when these fucking thieves are literally stealing from us at this moment. Republicans, yes. Democrats, yes. Together, yes. During the COVID pandemic, bro. Oh my
Yeah,
God, you should have seen it, bro. You should have
I'll tell
seen
you.
how fast they pulled money out of the Treasury. They printed money out of the Treasury that wasn't even there, bro. They
I
they
know.
were literally conducting criminal shit, right? And nobody cares. $400 billion, bro,
Right.
to Wall Street.
I'll tell you that. I'll tell you this story. I'll tell you
Is it a
this.
free market? Is it a free market if the government bails out the free market? Is that a free
Right.
market?
No, it's not. No.
Okay, cool. Just making sure.
Right.
Go ahead.
Right. I was talking to a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago. He's no longer living in Maui. He's living elsewhere. And he was saying to me that he was talking to a fisherman at the fish market, and this guy in the fish market told him, I quote, he was out on his boat one day, way before the fires of Maui happened, and he noticed a, a lot of grey clouds coming over from California, and they seemed to like drift towards where Maui would be. And within about 10-15 minutes of these clouds hitting Maui, fires started popping up left, right, and centre. Now, the thing is, were they man-made clouds? We do not know. Was it hiding something up there? We'll never know. The thing is
We'll know in
there's
20 years.
something, yeah, there's something going on out there as we speak. It's happened in Maui. It's happened in Europe. You guys already got a hurricane going on somewhere in America. I don't know where it is at this moment in time, so I've not been following it. But I know that there's a hurricane going around somewhere in America and it's doing a lot of damage. Who's going to pick up the bill? You guys, the general public, not the tax office, not the insurance companies. you guys will be picking up the bill. The thing
True.
is
True.
the president of the United States would rather line his pockets with other people's wealth rather than picking up the bill and paying it towards man, woman, child, and beast.
So that's another thing I want to talk about. Is I was watching the Republican debates the other day, and Nikki Haley said, "We are $32 trillion in debt, and so we're going to have to cut Social Security and Medicare because it's going to be insolvent." And I literally looked at that bitch and I laughed my ass off because I am not $32 trillion in debt. I did not spend $32 trillion on wars. I didn't go to Iraq for oil. I didn't fucking take out Gaddafi in Libya and fucking do a coup in Iran. I didn't fucking arm rebels in Venezuela and arm food trucks with bombs and try to overthrow Maduro. You guys did it. You guys are literally in the deficit $32 trillion. I just want them to know that they're not cutting our Social Security. They're not cutting our Medicare. They might think that they are, but I want, as soon as these people are seriously considering it and they're passing legislation, and they will eventually, because they're stealing from us, I want somebody, one of us, to raise our hands and say, guys, I just want you to know that you keep saying that we're $32 trillion in debt, but it turns out that you guys spent the money, and you guys are making $600,000 salaries, somehow becoming millionaires in your time as civil servants, and you guys have free health care. We don't have free health care. So literally, you could fit the bill with your own salaries, and you're not paying any part of the deficit. You haven't paid on the deficit for the last 20 years, and you keep saying that we're in the deficit. We didn't spend this money. You guys did without our permission. So I would appreciate if these fucking thief Republican Democrats stop talking about how we are in the deficit. They are in the deficit. And let me tell you this, Fallen Angel. These guys are going to fucking pay for it. This isn't some kind of Trump, the wall, Mexico's going to pay for it. I swear to God, before I die, my last breath, these guys are literally going to pay for this deficit, bro. This
One
deficit
thing I
is
will say,
unconstitutional. It's immoral. It's literally the symbolic of our degradation. It's symbolic as Rome, bro. And
right,
the fact that they're going to try to cut our Social Security and Medicare and talk about it's insolvent when they fund billions of dollars to Ukraine and they talk about we're trillions of dollars in debt. These guys are hilarious, bro. I don't understand how anybody can buy their bullshit anymore at this point. At this point, I have no idea why they're having primaries. Because who
right,
the fuck is going to vote for these guys? And that's what I want to. That's what I want to know from you guys in the audience. Is
right. One,
have you guys had enough yet? Have you guys
yeah,
had enough yet? Where they
right.
blame us for the
One
problems.
thing I will
Where they
mention,
talk about
one thing I
how
will,
the guns have overridden the fucking country. When they're fucking funneling guns in all the countries all over the world. We're the biggest arms dealer in the world. So where do you think this culture of violence is coming from? It's coming from them. It's not mental
yeah,
health. It's not.
right,
It's not. It's not the gays. It's not the blacks. It's not the Jews. It's the Democrats and Republicans. So let me tell you this, guys. All we have to do is get them out of here, and I promise you,
right,
the mass shootings will go away. The fucking starvation will go away. The tent cities will go away. The garbage will go away. The crime will go away. It'll all go away. So, guys,
right.
let's do
Did
this.
you have you been watching any of the British news in the past few weeks, Tommy?
Sorry, I soapbox. What would you say? What was your question?
Have you been watching any of the British news in the past few weeks?
I don't watch British news. I don't. I
Right.
think y'all are. I think they're boring as fuck. What? What
In
happened?
the British
What?
news, in the British news in the past few weeks, we've had a 30-something-year-old nurse sent away for life to prison with no parole, no release date or anything for killing 6 kids and attempted to kill 7 more. But at the same time, there's a huge big inquest into other possibilities of other children she may have harmed or may have killed. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because our NHS here in the UK is a bloody joke. The reason I say that is because there's so many chiefs who take pay rise, pay rise, pay rise, pay rise, pay rise. And one of the head ups of this NHS we have in the UK He's retired just suddenly. He's in his early 50s. He's got a big house out in the country. He's retired now, and he's now living in the southwest of France in a lovely house which he's bought himself. And basically, he is loaded, and I mean loaded. His pension, wait for it, is between 2 to 3.5 million a year. That's his pension. And I'm like going, holy Calido. Now, the thing is,
Do you
I've
guys
got
have a
mental health
deficit?
issues.
Do you guys? Do the British have a deficit like that, like us, as well? Are they
Yeah,
as bad as our parties?
it
Just
can be
wondering.
bad. But our Prime Minister says, oh, we're going to shake our money tree and see what falls out.
How about we
The thing is
shake them? How about we shake these guys? Because they're full of it money. I bet we shake these
the,
guys, we can get some money.
well,
Anyway, go
better
ahead.
still, just drop them from a high height like a piggy bank and watch it smash. It's
I
even
will
better.
love to, but
Yeah.
I don't advocate for violence. But I would love to. But go ahead.
The thing is the thing about the British NHS is they were promised 100 million if they voted for Boris Johnson to get in. Boris Johnson got in. Did he ever pay that 100 million into the NHS? Did he, Beck? Now, the reason I'm only bringing this up is because I do have mental health issues, and the department which I use to help me get better is closing due to funding, government funding. It's going because
Yeah.
all the doctors and nurses in that department are going private. That's where the money is.
So I guess the sickness of our greed and capitalist mentality is spreading to everywhere, or maybe it was
Eggs.
already there. The British kind
It's
of like
already there.
started it, I think. Actually, the British
Yeah,
were
it's already there. Yeah, it's
they
already
were
there, but it is.
empire criminals, imperialist criminals before us. So
Yeah,
they do what they do.
yeah.
Let's listen to some messages here.
What's going on, Tommy? Fallen Angel. Been had enough. Cornell West for president. If we gonna have a president of this corporation. But you're not gonna change the system at all. So if we don't take this country back and bring it back to the republic that it was, and get away from the Star Spangled Banner that we think is the American flag, we're always gonna be in this situation. You're not. Nothing is bigger than the agenda. We have to know that by now. I mean, they're not even hiding it.
Agree with that, Chris. Agree with that.
Yeah, Tommy, I definitely see what you're saying. You know, it's between the R&D, right? It's pick your poison, because this is a famous comedian said this. I always like this. It's the two-party system. That's the illusion of choice. It's the illusion of choice. It doesn't matter which one you vote for. Essentially, you're getting the same thing in the grand scheme of things, right? If you really want, what choice we have here in this country? You have a choice of 23 different bagels at Dunkin' Donuts. That's your fucking choice, right? Appreciate this chat here. Hope you're both doing well.
Thanks, Ohio. All right, bagels, bro. Whoever's doing the Department of Bagels, they're doing a great job. Give them a raise. The Department of Bagels, great job. There's probably not a Department of Bagels, because if there was a Department of Bagels, they wouldn't be doing great. So that's probably why. But yeah, Cornell West. It's funny because guys. So as we all know, these guys go around the world, upsetting governments, doing nefarious shit, killing women and children, and then supporting human rights and calling Trump a threat to democracy. It's hilarious. And then they think that also we're slaves, right? We're their slaves. So the Green Party candidate Cornell West is running for president. He's a academic professor. He's a hardcore principled Christian guy. I'm not a Christian myself, but I really admire when people actually live their principles and values. That's what this guy did. He was out there in the civil rights movement. He calls everybody brother. He loves everyone because God commanded love your neighbor as yourself. Personally, calling Joe Biden, I couldn't do that. That's some Christian love I don't have. But the guy is principled. He's educated. He's prescribed all of the right prescriptions for all of our policy woes. And so our two parties not only dislike the fact that he's actually trying to come up with solutions, because the funny thing is, Fallen Angel, is that these two parties, they don't come up with solutions. They can't come up with solutions. And it's not because they're dumb. It's because if they come up with solutions for our problems, then what are they going to run on? How are they going to get us to vote for them, right? They're talking points. So that's the whole trick, is that keep these problems in perpetuity, make sure they're worse, so they divide us. And so we vote for them because they say that they're going to change them, but they're lying. In the meantime, they call Cornel West a spoiler because he might take away votes from Joe Biden, which is hilarious because I don't understand how anybody would vote for Joe Biden in the first place. But these guys are so entitled. They think that we already, our votes belong to them. And anybody who gets in their way is spoiling it. What do you think about that? What do you think about the arrogance of that, Fallen Angel? You guys have a lot of parties in UK. So do y'all have this arrogance over there about this
We
electorally?
do have a bit of arrogance, but it gets usually swept under the carpet or chucked out the window to air. The thing is my late granddad used to come up with all sorts of sayings before he died, and I took note of all the best ones. And one of my best, one of the best of the best, he told me was, "Politicians tell lies, sinners tell lies. Who do you forgive? Who do you forgive?"
Um, Sinners? I don't know.
Politicians tell lies, sinners tell lies. Who do you forgive? The thing is,
I can't. People that are
my
sorry,
grandfather.
people that apologize, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And that are
The
sorry.
thing is, the thing is, my grandfather had a lot of friends in various circles. Some in politics, some in law, some in this, some in that. He was loved by a lot of people because he was a resource engine. And I've had people come to me and say, "You're a spitting image of your granddad, Gabs. Keep it up." That's people who have known my granddad and have known me growing up. And before my late grandmother died, she died 2 years ago, bless her. She died of natural causes. She didn't die of COVID, thank God. Because if she did die of COVID, I'd be very upset. But the thing about my grandmother is she was a very, very happy 90-something-year-old Irish granny. And she was totally and utterly lovely. And the thing is she was never racist, she was never sexist, she was never ageist, she was never a feminist, she was never this, never that. But if she had something to get off her chest, she would get it off her
So at the
chest.
core of the Democratic Party is a rot. And that rottenness is corporate greed. And they tied to big money, big donors, big